CNN drove me crazy today for a different reason about these elections, right, as opposed to the protests. I'm looking at their website, and Jesus, we got that screen capture, and they have these stories on what happened in the elections, and they got 3 headlines on it. 2 of them are okay. The third one is curious. So one headline here says, "Behind a Dem implosion in Virginia." Okay, there was a bit of an implosion in Virginia. Okay, that's fine. Then they say, "How did the GOP take down the New Jersey governor?" Okay, GOP did take down the New Jersey governor, fair. And then the third one says, these are all in the middle, "Both sides claim the win in New York 23. Now,
wait a minute.
hold up. Okay, yeah, the Republicans won in Virginia by a large margin. In New Jersey, a blue state, they took down the governor. Those are fair headlines. That's what happened, right? But there was no ambiguity about District 23 of New York. The Democrats took a seat that had been held for 150 years by the Republicans. Since the Civil War, the Republicans held that seat, and the Democrats took it for the first time. What do you mean both sides claim victory? What part of that is a victory for Republicans? That's a mental headline. It's because, I'm telling you, we've done this 100 times on the show. The mainstream media, the Republicans are always right for them. I mean, they haven't seen a Republican talking point that they didn't instantly fall in love with, that they didn't want to make love to and take home at night and treat tenderly. Okay? I mean, what the hell is... Dems may have won, and when you open up the article, here's what it says. The headline inside says, "Dems may have won New York 23, but conservatives claim victory too." If your idea of victory is losing a seat you haven't lost in 150 years, well, I mean, you're mentally challenged. And if you report that as balance, that's balance, well, then you're mentally challenged. And the thing is, you say, well, look, Cenk, he said, she said, they're trying to be neutral, they're trying to be balanced. Well, then where was the balance in New Jersey and Virginia? Why didn't those headlines say, both sides claim victory in Virginia? Why didn't the headline say it? Because it didn't happen. The Democrats got their ass handed to them. See, we would never do that. You got to give people the facts. You can't pretend something didn't happen. But they've been so intimidated by the right. And now some say, and I'm beginning to wonder, it's not that they're intimidated by the right. Some say they're controlled by the same corporations in very, very subtle ways. They don't sit in a smoky room and say, all right, you, producer at CNN.com, give me that headline. No, but it seeps in. It seeps in. People get rewarded for, towing the Republican Party line, and they don't get rewarded if they do it for the Democrats or for progressives. And on CNN, I mean, we've covered this before. Dana Bash said when presented with the Harry Reid actually putting the public option in the Senate version, she said, "Oh, is this to make the liberals happy?" Dana, your own network did a poll. 61% of Americans, according to CNN, want the public option. That's a huge majority. Are they all liberals? No, but on air, everything is derided. The liberals want the public option. Well, New York 23, it's split. This is not getting the truth to people. And and I'll tell you why I get so motivated by it, and so I get moved by it. Because when Bush said, Saddam Hussein had Saddam Hussein 9/11, Saddam Hussein 9/11, they mentioned him in the same sentence, and sometimes they would directly say that he had something to do with it. And CNN says, well, some people say he had something to do with 9/11, some people say he didn't. That's not journalism, that's crap. He didn't have anything to do with 9/11. Those are facts. You can't do he said, she said with facts. And what happened? All the way in 2006, 43% of Americans believe that Saddam Hussein was personally responsible for 9/11. That's how you mislead a country into war and to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. So it might be a small thing, but in the end, those small things add up to very, very large things. Now, when you go to try to find out in this article how the hell the conservatives can claim victory, you got to go to the end of the article where they quote a conservative blogger. Yeah, and I know CNN can't wait to quote liberal bloggers and put what they say in the title, right? How often does that happen? All right, anyway, so they go to Eric Erickson of Red State, and here's what Erickson says. The GOP must now recognize it will either lose without conservatives or will win with conservatives. Well, Eric, again, you seem to have issues with intelligence, as in you don't have any. You see, because a person with a minimum level of intelligence understands that you didn't win in New York 23. You lost. What does that quote mean? They'll either lose without conservatives or win with conservatives. But you didn't win. You didn't win with conservatives. You ran the guy you wanted, the most conservative guy in the race. And you lost. In fact, the exact opposite of what you said is true. You'll either lose with what you call conservatives, right-wing lunatics, or you'll win with moderates. That's the reality. And they take this guy as a legitimate source and put him as the balance in this story. And then he continues. He said, so we have demonstrated to the GOP, now he's saying, look, I'm a right-winger and the GOP is too moderate for me, right? So we have demonstrated to the GOP that it must not take conservatives for granted. The GOP had better pay attention. Okay, congratulations. We just paid attention to how you fools lost a seat that the Republicans hadn't lost in 150 years. How you guys are some of the dumbest political strategists in the country. What else do you need us to pay attention to? If I was the Republicans, I'd kick them out with a boot in their ass. I mean, but thank God the Republicans are dumb enough to listen to him. No, you listen to Eric Erickson. Please, in 2010, and then 2012, listen to Rush Limbaugh, listen to Sarah Palin, listen to Eric Erickson, and morons like this, and you lose every seat you have. And in fact, he's got plans. His last quote, for all intents and purposes, New York 23 is a trial run for Florida. And in Florida, the conservative candidate is operating inside the GOP. If John Cornyn and the NRSC, that's the senatorial campaign for the Republicans, do not want to see Florida go the way of New York 23, they better stand down. So what's happening in Florida? Charlie Crist is the moderate Republican. And we've talked about him on the show. We don't agree with some of his stances, but the guy seems like he did a reasonable job. We're trying to look out and be fair and we don't, Republican, Democrat, we're actually trying to see what they did, right? So since he was in any way, shape, or form reasonable, the conservatives hate him. They're running this guy named Mark Rubio against him, okay? And so what Eric Erickson, the moron, is saying is, hey, you know what? We want to do for Florida what we did in New York 23. I'm going to say it one more time. You idiot. You lost in New York 23. You lost an unlosable seat. You couldn't possibly lose that seat except that you were so stupid that you did, right? Now, you're saying you want to do that again in Florida? You know what I'm going to say? You want to say it with me? Have at it, Hoss. Okay? You want to screw up the Florida Senate race for the Republicans? You want to take out Charlie Crist, who I think, in my honest assessment, is nearly guaranteed a victory if he makes it out of the primary? And you want to run Mark Rubio the clown and then lose the seat? I don't know why I'm angry. I mean, I should say, all right, go crazy. Lose every seat in the Senate and every seat in the House. The only reason I'm angry is because I want a reasonable opposition. I want there to be an intelligent debate in the country. And these morons are killing the Republican Party, and they're going to be a permanent minority. And then when you go to challenge, the Obama administration on anything they're doing wrong, your only choice is that the press will only listen to these fools. So you can make real case against what Obama's Treasury Department is doing. Instead, these guys come out and they're like, healthcare reform, they're against freedom-loving Americans. They're going to start a Holocaust. That's not a debate. Come on, man. That's a bunch of lunatics that just escaped from the asylum, and you're giving them equal coverage as if that provides you balance.